Hey there, welcome to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show. This is a show that is dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're back for March 16th, day 16th, band battle number 16 on Battle of the Bands. Got two pretty interesting bands here. First, I want to apologize. I know that I said this a little bit earlier. I got in a little late. Ate a little late, had other things to do, and then as soon as I was clear of all that, I got on to these. It takes a bit of time to listen to two full albums and come up with a kind of consensus and what you think of the two bands, and who's going to win, of course. So we have two bands here who I think are maybe the most similar bands that we've had on this show so far against each other. So the bands are Warhorse and their album Red Sea. They're an English band. The album Red Sea was released in 1972. The other band is called Toad. It's a self-titled album. They're a Swiss band from 1971. Okay, both have very similar qualities here. They both have a little bluesy, heavy bluesy stuff in their music. They're also very crunching hard rock. A lot of pretty rawness to their music, actually. I think it's almost like a garage band, like they're really grindy, heavy. A lot of distortion on a lot of stuff on this as well. Some really good tracks. The albums are pretty similar too in their layout for me anyways. I liked the beginning of both albums quite a bit, and then gradually it kind of wore a bit, maybe not as much on Toad, but it wore down a little bit on me. So we'll start with Warhorse, of course, because it was the first one in the selection. So they have like a pretty gruff vocal style. He's a bit on the gruff side, but heavy at the same time. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a cough tonight. Lots of riffing on their music. The only difference between these two bands, and I think it's a bit of a detriment to Warhorse, is their keyboards. They have a lot of Hammond organ, and they use it quite a bit, and not necessarily to the effect that I think keyboards should be used. And this is, of course, my own judgment. This doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means for my own sake and the way I listen to music, I don't really like a lot of that constant keyboard in the background. To me, it kind of takes away from the music. Okay, so they've got 7 tracks, both out. Well, actually, Toad had 8 tracks, even though there's only 7 on the actual album. If you're looking at it, they added another track at the end. But anyways, there were 3 tracks on this album that I liked quite a bit. Red Sea, opening track, really catchy riff. The guitar parts, of course, were kind of heavy, and the rhythm section was really good on this song. So a lot of catchy rhythm beats to it, which I liked a lot. And it was a pretty heavy song as well. Back in Time, which is the second track, some more heavy riffing with a lot of Hammond organ on this. The vocals, he did a couple screaming parts, and it's understandable. After I listened to the 2 albums, I went back and did a little reading on both, and Warhorse was featured the original bass player from Deep Purple. So yeah, I can see some Deep Purple in this. I don't know how much influence he had on the album, but there's a couple of, at least a vocal falsetto screaming that the guy likes to do, very reminiscent of Ian Gillan, I think, although he doesn't really sound like Ian Gillan, but you can see he has that same kind of quality he's trying to portray there. Lots of distortion in the guitar soloing, heavy guitar soloing, ongoing guitar soloing with that distortion. The whole album sounds kind of rough, like it's raunch. It's really raw. The third track, Confident But Wrong, has a bit of an acoustic opening, which is kind of a catchy hook. I liked it. Vocals were strong on this as well. Lots of keyboard soloing, lots of heavy guitar soloing, and that's pretty much the theme for most of the songs. The only thing about them I liked is they tried to have a little bit of a different opening for each song. So they had one song had the piano opening, another one had a heavy bass opening, then there was a guitar, like a distorted guitar opening bit. There was some bluesy parts to it, on a couple of tracks as well. Yeah, I just found, and there's a couple of times where they kind of started a kind of a jamming session, especially on the Mouthpiece, where the drums kind of took over most of that song, was playing little drum solos and then longer drum solos, and then you'd have a guitar solo in there, and then it was kind of like they were jamming the whole time. So for the other album, Toad, self-titled, a Swiss band this album came out a year earlier than the Warhorse one, with 1971. Very raw, more raw than even the Warhorse album. Lots of really heavy, catchy guitar parts in this, like almost Sabbath-like. It kind of reminded me a bit of Masters of Reality, with that real beefy, distorted, kind of heavy, raw, aggressive guitar playing, like real raunchy, And I actually enjoy that part of it. That Sabbath album is actually one of my favorite. It is one of my favorite Sabbath albums. So I see a little bit of that here. So yeah, again, a lot of that distortion. This band really likes to use the distortion a lot, and a lot of guitar soloing. Maybe more than the Warhorse album. There was more soloing on this. Both guitar players are good. But they both have that really raw, kind of distorted sound to all of their stuff. They did have one tune on here, it's called The One I Mean, acoustic bit, real soft vocals, and a bluesy song, completely different than anything else on the album. In fact, the other album didn't have anything like that. The closest it came was Mouthpiece, which was more of a jam session, so that was a little bit different there. Yeah, just pretty heavy distortion on just about every track. My favorite tracks, again, were the first two, and then there was one further down, Life Goes On. Catchy riff with lots of distorted guitar parts, lots of really kind of heavy guitar soloing. All three tracks were like that. The first track, Cotton Hill, really catchy tune. Was probably my favorite on the album. Yeah. Overall, I thought I thought they were both pretty solid albums. I enjoyed both of them. They're a band that, these are two bands that I would like to play in the room, nice and dark room, and just sit there and really veg out and really listen to the music 100%. And yeah, they had some bluesy parts to their music, but for the most part, they're real hard rock and distortion. These couple of songs are almost on the edge of metal, but not really a metal sound, but that kind of heaviness to their music. So now I got to choose one of these two, which I thought going in that it would be Toad almost automatically, because I'd heard this album several times. This was actually one of the first albums that I had discovered, a new album that I discovered when prior to I even got into opening up this channel. Before that, I was just watching different music channels talking about different albums, and that's why I got kind of decided to go, that I thought I could do this and enjoy it. And this was one of those albums, the Toad's self-titled album. And I listened to this quite a bit for a while on the computer, because I didn't have it. It's hard to find this album. Both are going to be hard to find. But to be honest, when the Warhorse came on, I thought, wow, this one is almost as good. Like, these are both really good albums. And I'm still not really sure how I want to go here. I guess it just comes down to which one did I enjoy the most and think that I'll enjoy more in the future. And you know what? As much as I like the Toad album, and I think I enjoy it a lot, I just think that there's more to be had from the Warhorse, despite the Hammond organ, which that's one thing about Toad I like better. There was no Hammond organ. This This guy has too much Hammond organ, but I think I can get past it with this group. So I think Warhorse is going to win this tonight by the slimmest of margins, maybe one of the slimmest of margins, other than that opening night with Masters Apprentice winning that. They had a tough row there as well against, what was that band? Boy, I had it, now it's gone. Anyways, this is as close a battle, I think, as you can get. So I think Toad's going to take a side, which is kind of surprised me. I really thought that after having listened to their album 4 or 5 times, that this album would have to be very good to beat it. And it did. It beat it. I just think that there's a little better instrumentation on the Warhorse album. The songs are a little bit catchier, and I think there's more of an upside. Not much, but a little bit more of an upside. So I'm going to go with Warhorse. Warhorse will go on to the next round, and the Toad will go by the side for now. So that's end of the first round. You know, we've done 16 battles already. It's a lot of work doing these battles. You know, it's not really a lot of work in listening to them, but it just takes time, because you have to listen to both albums, and that's an hour and a half at least. And then you gotta make your notes while you're doing it, and then you gotta make this video, and then you gotta upload it. So a little bit time consuming, but and I do apologize for this being late and the other one being late the other night, and tomorrow's is likely going to be the same way. It's just a time factor, that's all it is. And this week's been busy, had lots of stuff going on, and just couldn't get to them early enough so that I could do it for tomorrow morning. I'm going to try my best to get them back on to the 8 a.m. thing in the morning, but just got to do what you got to do, right? Anyway, so tomorrow's second round will probably be a late one as well, and then I'm going to try and do the second battle for Saturday morning. Like, I'll try to have it out in the morning and get back on track with that. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. Please like and subscribe. It's much appreciated. And we'll be back with more Battle of the Bands tomorrow. Take care.